Hey, happy Monday. Gosh, I can't believe it's already the beginning of the week. It was such a crazy weekend for me. We went back to Michigan and spent the weekend with my grandchildren and my beautiful daughter, and it was such a beautiful time. But here we are back on Monday morning. So I wanted to connect with you and talk about some things that have shown up in the group recently. I know the last time I did a Facebook Live, we talked about meditating and the importance of taking time out and making space for your meditation practice and time to take care of you. And there were a couple people who mentioned that just sounded overwhelming, that the idea of being able to sit still and manage that kind of quiet seemed almost impossible. So I wanted to take a few minutes and talk a little bit about our thoughts and why it is so hard for us to sit still. One of the things that I realized, I was in India last fall, and I was so grateful to have the opportunity to go out there. And I was actually there for 3 weeks, and I was able to really get immersed in the beauty of India and in the spiritual practices that they have out there. And one of the ways that they describe the mind out there is that our mind works like a drunken monkey. So when we sit still, it's kind of like jumping all over the place with no real reason or rhyme. And if you've ever tried to sit still for just a few minutes even, you'll often notice that you start thinking about all kinds of things. I mean, just far out thoughts, yesterday, what went on last weekend, what you need to get done today or later on today, or gosh, why am I sitting here wasting all this time? Or our minds just seem to jump all over the place. And those of us who have brought meditation into our lives, many of us start thinking that our thoughts are our enemy. It's like, oh my gosh, here they are. And how do I get rid of them? And how do I quiet it down? And how do I control them? And how do I even begin? So I wanted to take a minute and talk a little bit about that. Keep in mind, the mind itself, or our thoughts, the mind is a powerful servant. We use it to get through life. If we didn't have attentive and intelligent minds, we would have a pretty hard time getting through the day. But the other side of it is it's a powerful servant, but a horrible master. So unfortunately, what happens is our minds are so often running us instead of us picking and choosing the thoughts that are going to get us through the day in the most productive manner. So it's just a little flip of consciousness that takes you from reacting to a thought, hey, Krista, to actually responding to a thought, to consciously choosing the response that you want to make to a thought that shows up in your mind or in your thought process while you're meditating and even throughout the course of the day. So I brought up the question earlier today, how do we control thoughts, or should we even control our thoughts? And speaking specifically of meditation, and when you're doing your meditation practice, the funny thing is a lot of people think that you're supposed to stop your thoughts. Oh my gosh, don't think about trees, or don't think about work, or whatever it is that comes into your mind. You think, oh, stop it, get it out of my mind. I shouldn't be thinking about all this. And actually, that's not really what's going on when you meditate. When you meditate, the idea is this idea of awareness. You want to become aware of this drunken monkey mind that you have that's throwing all these thoughts all over the place. Just sit back during your meditation and watch those thoughts go by. It's been described like you're sitting on a bridge and you're watching the river flow below you. And you're watching the leaves go by on the river, and you're picturing your thoughts as leaves on that river, and you're just watching them go by. And every once in a while, what's going to happen is you're going to get attached to one of them. And you're going to find that you're off on some track. You're no longer watching, you've actually joined the party, and you're floating along with your thoughts. So one of the big challenges to meditation is to learn to recognize it when that happens and come right back. So for most of us who meditate regularly, we focus on our breath. So you focus on just the breathing, the air going in and out of your nostrils. It gives you a focal point that you can come back to right here instead of going off wherever your thoughts tend to lead you. So the first real good helpful thing is to find a focal point while you're meditating. And then as those thoughts come by, let them go. I mean, don't be upset that you've gotten a thought, and certainly don't be upset that you've hooked onto it and that you've let it take you for a ride. Hey, Scott, good to see you. But the thing you need to do is notice them. I mean, notice the fact that so often in our lives, our minds are just running the show. And that's not a problem, except for the fact that we are doing it unconsciously. So as an example, Rob and I we sit together in bed in the morning a lot of times and start our day out together. And Rob brought it up this morning, and he said, It's interesting. I just realized that I can decide what kind of mood I want to be in. And I looked at him and I said, well, tell me a little more about that. What do you mean by that? And he said, I could think about, and he listed any number of negative things. We can all think of them, right? We've all got things going on in our lives that we can choose to think about that can put us in a bad mood and start out our Monday pretty crappy. Or he says, I could also think about our beautiful grandchildren and how much fun we had over the weekend and the sound of Elijah saying, Papa, and running across the deck to him. So he said, I realize that I can choose which thought I want to hold on to in any given moment. And when you get to that point where you are conscious of the thoughts that are running through your mind and you choose which one you want to hang on to, then you're starting to understand the process of awareness and how important it is to become conscious of those thoughts and then to choose them wisely. So we talked about that this morning, and we talked about how special it is that we've actually learning that in our practice to become aware, to sit and meditate and become aware of the thoughts that show up so that we can then make a conscious choice. So often you have a million thoughts going through your mind and they're just running your show. They're deciding for you whether you're going to be in a good mood that day or in a bad mood, whether you're going to get angry at the guy on the highway who cut you off, or whether you're going to see the sunshine and the beautiful blue sky, and whether you're going to choose that to think on and to spend your time with. But you're the one who makes that decision, and that's what's so great about it. Hey, Jules, good to see you here. If you have questions while I'm going through some of this, especially related to meditation, please be sure to type them in, and I'll see what I can do to actually address them sort of live while we're talking here. But you're certainly welcome to put things down later as well. But your experience of this particular moment is going to depend on what thought you've decided to take a hold of. And the beautiful thing about it is once you realize that, your life can become really, really beautiful. So I put up a video earlier today about somebody talking about how the next generation, the younger generation, is pretty spoiled and has all these internet and website stuff. And, back in the day, we had dial telephones and we didn't have all the wonderful things that our children and grandchildren have today. And this whole notion of sitting on a plane and going, wow, I'm on a chair in the air, I'm just flying through the sky, and how much we tend to take for granted. But if we can become aware of how great some of these things are and hang on to those thoughts, they're going to determine the mood that we're in for most of the day. Now, what happens is you get busy and something catches you, just the same in life, the same way that it does in meditation. Some thought will catch you during the day and you're lost again. So yes, Joanne, your question, meditation is letting these thoughts all come into your head and just go right by. You're just a witness. Your job in meditation is to just sit by and watch all those thoughts come and go. What you're doing is you're kind of unwinding. You're letting all that stuff just show up. You're going, wow, where'd that come from? And you're looking at it kind of not with a judgment. There's no right, wrong, that's a good thought, that's a bad thought. The goal is to be what's called equanimous. Watch the thoughts and go, wow, where did that one come from? Or I wonder why that's on my mind. I wonder why that keeps showing up. Just wonder about it. Let it go. The whole point is to give your mind a break from all the judgments and all the reactions that we make on a day-to-day basis as these thoughts show up in our minds. So meditation is the way, it's the path, or it's the technique or the practice that you use that you then translate to the real world, to doing it during the day while you're going through your life. And I'm going to give you a little exercise or a little homework exercise at the end of this so you can practice awareness throughout your day, and it'll help you get a better idea of what I'm talking about. But keep in mind, any thought that you choose to think right now could very well be true. Whether it makes you feel good, whether it makes you feel bad, whether it makes you feel nervous or stressed out, it doesn't really matter. It could be true. The point is, which one are you going to pick? You're going to pick something to think about. So hopefully you'll pick something that makes you feel good, something that inspires you and makes you want to smile or laugh or go on through your day in a better mood. So the idea is to become aware that all of this stuff is going on. All of these thoughts are happening. We have fears and we have anger and we have vulnerability challenges, and we have embarrassment and nervousness, but we also have joy and excitement. Are you not hearing me very well? Hopefully it's videotaping and you'll be able to hear it in the replay. But your experience of this moment will depend on the thought that you choose for this moment. The question is, one of the big questions is, are you choosing? Or are you just reacting? So are you actually choosing a thought, or are you just letting the thoughts run the show? They're just running through you like Chinese food. They're just deciding where you're going to go and how you're going to feel. And what happens, unfortunately, is so often the thoughts that are going uncontrolled or unnoticed are your belief patterns. They're your habits of thinking that have run your life, your entire life. So thoughts like, if he isn't, one of the big ones is, if he's angry with me, I must not be enough. One of my challenges has been being enough in life. So if I'm not paying attention, anytime Rob might slight me in any way, I react with this, I'm not enough. I'm not enough. I must not be enough. We all have our issues. We all have our challenges on our own path. And what happens if we're not being conscious about our thoughts and if we're not watching them, they start showing up and running the show. And they're the thing that determines your mood. And they determine the kind of day that you're going to have. So the first challenge that we've got within this process is, are we choosing the thought? Are we paying attention to what's going on in our heads? Because so often we're not. We are just reacting to whatever shows up. The truth is, the seed of your experience of life is within you. It's not about anybody else out there. The way that you interpret it is about you. It's about you and your preconceived ideas and your belief patterns that you've had leading up to this point in your life, which is why it's so important to understand kind of where you came from and how some of these belief systems showed up in your life. So the first challenge that you've got is to start looking at your thoughts and choosing consciously which one you're going to hang on to, which one you're going to work with right now, because you can't do everything in every moment. So which one, which thought? So when you wake up in the morning and you open your eyes, you can either go, ugh, it's Monday. And you can hang with that. And you can just live your Monday with that mindset. Or you can wake up and think, this is wonderful. Do you know how many people didn't wake up this morning? Do you know how many people had loved ones who didn't wake up this morning? You have the choice to be grateful. You have the choice to be happy that you're waking up in a place of safety and relative health and peace. And so try to wake up with a smile. If you don't wake up with a smile, choose to change and grab that thought that's joyful. Grab that thought that's going to start your day out in a joyful way. The second challenge is we often aren't choosing the ones that feel good. Lots of us like our drama. We're expanding ourselves by walking through the unknown, which can bring on fear. Absolutely. Vulnerability and fear is the hardest challenge that you can come up against, and at the same time, it's got the greatest reward. We talk a lot in the spiritual community about opening, about allowing yourself to be vulnerable. And what happens when you do that is you find out that it really isn't as scary as you thought it was. Let me tell you, doing Facebook Live videos initially scared me to death. It's scary. I mean, I'm out here and I might say something stupid, or I might be silly, or you might laugh at me, but you know what? So what? Here I am, and I've got a life of experiences and years with this meditative experience really helping my life and changing my life to a place where I have so much joy and peace in my life, and I want to share that. And so if it's not perfect, it's not perfect. None of us are. But that's okay. I'm out here and I'm in the game. And that's what it's all about. We've all got that. We've all got something to offer. But that third challenge, the first one is we're not choosing. The second challenge is when we choose, we're not choosing the ones that feel good. Rob is a crazy one for that with his ex-wife. Just thinks about the stuff that makes him feel bad, and then he's angry. And he could choose to think about that, or he could choose to think about his current wife and the one that loves him and adores him. So sometimes we choose the wrong thought. It's really, really important to pay attention to which one you're choosing, because all of that drama and all those negative feelings are there for everybody. We've all got them. But if you can choose the right thought, the good thought, the one that leads you to your higher self, that's the one. That's the one you're looking for. Meditation helps you do that. The third challenge is we're not noticing the details. We're not visualizing. So let's just talk about the idea of looking for a new job. I'm out of a job and I want to get a new job, which is something that I've dealt with. I have a lot of struggles in my current job, and I really would love to break out and do my own thing. But you know what's my problem is? I'm not visualizing it enough. I don't have a clear idea of what I really, really want to do. And so it's really hard to get that. You can't manifest it until you can get an idea of what it is you want. Rob was looking for a job about a year ago. He had lost his job, and that experience was devastating for him. And at the same time, it turned out to be a real blessing for him as well. And while he was looking, I kept saying, well, what do you want to do? And what does that look like? And he would say, I don't know. And I kept saying, well, you got to do that. That's your work. You got to figure out what that looks like before you can manifest it. Because if you don't, when it shows up in the WAN ad or in your email, you're not going to recognize it. So all of these things that we say that we want in our lives, if we don't have a good picture of what that looks like, when we get it, it comes by, it's going to go right past us and we're not going to see it. So we really need to choose our thoughts, and then we need to get really specific about the things that we really want in our lives and start thinking on those things. What does that look like? What does that perfect job look like? Or what does that perfect home look like? I did about several years ago, I did what was called a vision board. And believe it or not, 7 years later, probably 85% of what was on that board has happened. And I put India on that board 7 years ago. And by some miracle, if you can call it a miracle, I ended up going to India last year, and my company paid for the entire trip. So I would have never thought, in fact, that was the thing I put on my board that I thought was least likely to happen. So think about that. Get a vision board started and really put some pictures of what you want to do, what's important to you to get accomplished, and start paying attention to that. When you meditate, have it in your room, have it nearby where you can keep your eye on it and you can keep working toward it. I'm going to try to get up here and see if I don't screw this up too much. I'm going to try to turn this thing around and show you my vision board. And maybe that'll give you kind of an idea. Work. Here we go. There's my vision board. So on my vision board, you'll see a picture of a clock and 3 children. Those are my son, my daughter, and son-in-law. And my clock represented time with my family. Right in the middle is published this book. Actually, I do have a book, and I have written it entirely. So you see the microphone there, and I've done some public speaking as well. This is a picture right in the middle of me and Rob and 2 wedding rings. This was actually right after we had first met. And I wanted to get married. And that was important to me. You'll see a picture of Ram Dass on there, who is a mentor that I love and admire and have since met. Down in the lower corner, you'll see a picture of John of God out in Brazil. I actually went out there 4 years ago and met with him, and I'm going back again in June to see him a second time, so 4 years later. Let's see, there's a nice one right there that says student loan balance 0. I have a huge student loan in a profession that I don't even use, that I have been paying for years, that has weighed me down and been my anchor in a bad way. And I am now proudly about 75% paid off on that loan. So those are just a few thoughts from what's on there, but you can see the Taj Mahal there in India. And all those things have happened. So on there, I think I still got to see Italy. I'd still like to go on an Alaskan cruise, but my vision board, I got to get a new one going because the things that I've asked for on here have all happened. So hopefully that's inspiring to you. And there's my picture of me as a little girl, and that's my reminder to always, always, always the child in me, and how important it is to not take yourself so seriously and to have fun with life, and to remember how joyful it was when I was a little girl, because that's the kind of thing I want in my life. That's the kind of joy and fun that I want to be able to have in this life. So I also put a list of things on my page earlier today. It was actually a screenshot from a video of a bunch of actors. It was Denzel Washington and Richard Gere and, oh gosh, who else was on there? Several other great movie stars and actors who were talking about the law of attraction. And so they had 10 points. This notion of you attract what you feel or fear or think. That's that whole idea. You know, what thoughts are you holding on to? Because whatever thoughts you're holding on to are the ones you're going to attract. So if you're thinking about how negative, how mad you are at your friend or what they did to you that hurt your feelings, you're just going to feel bad. And if you're thinking about what a great time you had with your grandkids or how beautiful your daughter is or how much you love your son, you're going to feel good. So you really do get what you think about. And the second point on there was we're all born superstars. You just have to pull it out of yourself. The question is, do you believe that that's true about you? And hopefully you do. Hopefully you do. But meditation will help you with that. It will help peel back the onion so that you can see who you really are and what you're able to do. It also said to visualize clearly. So you got to see my vision board and how important it is. Visualization does work, especially if you do some of the work. And I have been doing this meditation practice now for almost 7 years. And it has blessed me immensely to really get a better knowing of who I am on the inside. And from a day-to-day perspective, to pick a thought and to catch those ones that really make me feel good and not hang on to those negative thoughts. Decide what you will be, who you will be, and how you're going to do it, but be specific. Be really, really specific. So that's another really good point that was made on that video or on that page. As you think, so shall you become. If you don't choose consciously, you're going to rely on your old habit patterns and erroneous belief systems. You're going to rely on the things that you've always believed to be true, but really aren't. You know, things that maybe your parents told you. I know my mom told me that women were only supposed to be housewives and mothers. And I love my mom. My mom was an amazing woman. But that was a belief system that I held the first part of my life, and it held me back. It kept me from going to college in the beginning. It made me choose to do some things too early in life before I was ready. So when we hold on to old belief systems and we're not consciously deciding what we believe is true in each moment, we struggle, and we're bound to suffer through some of those. Another point was like attracts like. You know, great thoughts attract great things and great people. And that's what's so fun about this group, because we're really building a group of people who are willing to work together and grow together and really, really learn this important practice and technique of meditation so that we can get to know who we really are. If you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. So again, that goes back to what I said about Rob's job search. You know, you got to get a good idea of what that looks like. And I need to do it. I need to do it with my job and my career. And really, I want to think about it and go to sleep on it and dream about it and see what it looks like to speak in front of people and talk to people and change their lives and bring my experiences to a place where they can help other people. But I got to figure that out. I got to get down to the details. What does that really mean? It means getting on Facebook Live. It means running a Facebook group. It means making space for that. It means making space for meditation so that I can get out of my own way, so that I can bring my best self to you. Because as I've said before, the best gift I can give you is working on me in your presence. And hopefully that's what I'm doing on this group. And then point number 10 was laugh every chance you get. And man, do I need to learn about that. I tend to be so serious. And I am slowly learning to make some fun of myself and be willing to make mistakes and dive in and just take that chance. Because if you don't, you're never going to know. I mean, you're just never going to know. So here's your homework till we meet again for the next week. I want you to do this. Pick something that you can practice with. Meditation is called a practice. So during the day, I want you to pick something that you can practice with. Something that you do several times each day, like brushing your teeth or washing your hands or eating. For me, I'm in sales. I'm in and out of a car. I chose starting my car. So pick something that you do every day, multiple times a day. And I challenge you to do that thing consciously every time. So when you go to start your car, I want you to bring your attention fully to the fact that you're starting your car. Or if it's brushing your teeth, I want you to feel the bristles when you're brushing your teeth. Just that one thing. The rest of the day, don't worry, do your own thing, try with your thoughts, all of that. But the homework assignment is to pick one thing over the next week and do it consciously every time. Bring your attention and your awareness to it. And what you're going to see happens, and you're going to be amazed. Because if you do this for an entire week, let me just tell you what my experience was. I start my car probably 7 or 8 times a day. So I thought, this will be great. I'll start my car and I'll be, there I am starting my car. Peggy, you are starting your car. The key goes in the lock. You turn it, start your car. Do you know that the first day I must have started my car 5 times and I was halfway to another appointment before I even remembered that I was supposed to be thinking about starting my car when I started it. I was supposed to be bringing my awareness to that. We get lost. We get on autopilot and we completely forget to be aware. We forget to be conscious. So that's your first exercise for the week, is just to see, just test this, and you might be surprised because it sounds kind of easy. Sounds like, oh, I'm just brushing my teeth. I mean, how hard can that be? But whatever you pick, think about it when you do it every time. And that's the beginning of your practice. You're starting to become aware, to bring your thoughts into some amount of controls. Not while you're meditating. I'm not talking about controlling anything while you're meditating. I'm talking about during the day when you're living your life in your normal routine. I want you to bring some of those thoughts into control. I want you to bring them into subjection and become very aware of just that one activity that you choose throughout the course of the week. I would love to hear how this goes for you. If you don't mind posting it on the group, we can talk some more about it. But I think you're going to be surprised at how often you just completely forget that you were supposed to be doing something, that you had a homework assignment. So that's your assignment for this week. Take that drunken monkey mind of yours and just pick one activity and see how consciously you can stay aware of that one thing for the next week. All right? I've had a great time talking with you. I hope this was helpful for you, and we'll be doing a lot more videos and talking about a lot of these concepts. The next thing I really want to talk about that you can look forward to is we're going to talk a little bit about yoga, the idea of yoga and what it means and how we can use it in our lives. So you can look forward to that. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you soon. Take care. Bye.